Leena, good morning. I'll start with you. Why? How? When? Must be hard work dealing with these two.
With these two, it's relatively hard work, yes.
Yeah.
You're in comparison to the others, it's very easy. The other drivers are much worse than us.
Yeah.
That is not true.
Brilliant. You engineered the winning car at Le Mans in 2011, but you have worked with these clowns before, haven't you? Somehow they've contrived to win Le Mans 10 times between them. It's very hard to win as a driver, and it's very hard to win as a team, and the constituent parts of that team, like engineers like you.
Yes, it's all about preparation, really. And we start preparing for Le Mans the next year, literally the day after we finish the race. It takes that long to get it right. Audi's obviously had a lot of success at Le Mans. These guys have had a lot of success there as well. It's an ongoing process. It's not easy by any means. It might look that way, but it isn't at all.
When you walk up and down the pit lane at Le Mans with the big manufacturer teams like Audi and whisper it, Peugeot, there's a lot of people in there, and they're all running around. There's banks of computers and things. Everybody knows what they're doing all day and all night.
Yeah, that's right. Everyone's got a particular function that they need to fulfill. And a lot of that is established across testing and that kind of thing. So it works like clockwork. And the reason for it is because when we have problems and stuff like that, you have to have those people knowing exactly what they need to do so they can coordinate themselves.
Allan, Le Mans for you in 2011 was a pretty tough event. It was a kind of bittersweet event in general for Audi. Your car went out in a pretty terrifying accident, but as a team, Audi went on to win.
Well, when Leena was saying that the Le Mans 2012 started on the Monday morning at 9 o'clock after the race had just finished, I think for Tom and I and Dindo it started about an hour into the race when our car went out, because it was a pretty monster accident. I think pretty much everybody has seen. But, you know, I was able to pop the door after it had rolled so many times and step out without any sort of injury. And then with Rocky having a huge shunt in the middle of the night and basically being okay, there was a lot of relief, I would have said, by everybody that two drivers had been able to you know, basically walk away. But it put a lot of pressure onto the third carders, without doubt there. And that's where I think the strength of character came in, because it was such a close race all the way through. And for them to be able to pull off the victory with 13.4 seconds was, I think, testament to not just technical capability of Audi and the R18, but to be honest, the people that were actually making it work and tick. But certainly from Tom and my point of view, and Dindo as well, it was one that we would lock away and forget and look straight into 2012.
Tom, 13 seconds after a 24-hour race is staggering, and I think it shows the level at which Audi and Peugeot are pushing the game now.
Yes, and it's going even with this golden era of even more manufacturers coming now, having a world championship to fight for. This is going even closer, and that means that everyone from preparation, from working in the pit, working in the pit lane, and us drivers at the circuit in terms of traffic, everything has to work sublime to be able to pull that off and to win the race.
You've won it 8 times, which is a record.
It's very greedy, isn't it?
I know, yeah. It is. It's quite selfish, isn't it?
What does that mean?
Greedy.
You tell me later.
It means slow down a bit.
No, go faster. Crikey me. No, I'm racing with him. You don't want him to slow down.
You've won it 8 times with Porsche, with Bentley, and 6 of them with Audi. Where do you find the motivation each June to pound round there in the rain and the dark, and when you haven't slept for ages?
I mean, it's quite easy to find the motivation. The race is incredibly, it takes a lot from you, the whole preparation going into a race, which happens every year. And in a year, a lot of things changes. And in that sense, it's just the greatest challenge, trying to work as a team, trying to, at the end of the day, when you're in the car, try to be on top of things with the responsibility of being in the early days with the private teams, the Team Go as a private team champion. But now the latter years with the responsibility of representing, as I think, the greatest manufacturer of them all with Audi, and this is really a privilege, and it's a it's sort of every year that the motivation comes by itself, and the race is the race. And obviously, when we have a 2011 like we did, then the focus for World Championship combined with the race this year will be even better.
It's a real shot in the arm for sports car racing, isn't it? We've got a World Endurance Championship. First time in 20 years there's been a proper World Championship. Is it something that Audi's going to grab with both hands?
Everyone's going to grab it with both hands. We had talked about it today, that it's much easier. Everyone around the whole, let's say the mechanics, the fans, it's easier to win a trophy, which is called a world title, a world championship, instead of, let's say, what we had last year. It's difficult to Intercontinental, Le Mans Series Cup. You know, I mean, the world title sounds a bit better, doesn't it? And I think any manufacturer will grab that with both hands. And when you have a race like the 24 Hours of Le Mans, counting for the points, actually double points in the championship, then I think everyone will go with their eyes pretty open and focused.
Allan, can you talk about Audi's commitment to the WEC yet? Do you know what you're going to be doing?
No, there's quite a few, I would say, manufacturers that haven't quite specified exactly what their plans are. And Audi's one of them in that. I think, though, you can be quite clear that they've got a strong commitment towards sports car racing, not just with the LMP1, with the R18 that we had been racing in 2011, but also with the R8 LMS. And DTM has been a big, strong part of their domestic program back in Germany. But from an international point of view, right from 1999 when they entered, and through the whole R8 era, and then R10, the first diesel, R15, and the downsizing of the engines to make it more efficient, and then R18, they've been big supporters for, I would say, the whole sphere of sports cars and what it can bring to the brand. But on the other side of it, they've also been pushing very hard, and I think the involvement of the VACO, the FIA, and then the brand of a World Championship is something that Dr. Ulrich personally has been pushing for quite a long time.
Leena, we get a lot of people at the show who've worked out that they can't be racing drivers, so they want to get into team management or marketing or the media, and indeed engineering. How do you go about becoming a top engineer with a manufacturer team?
It's a lot of hard work. You don't just walk into the job. I started out with a full-time job in the automotive industry, but on the side I was basically putting myself forward to work for race teams, be it for free or whatever. Started from Formula V, people that I met here actually at AUTOSPORT a few years back, and then just got my name around and worked my way up. It doesn't come easily. If it's something you want to do, you have to work really, really hard for it.
And this is a sort of environment where you can walk around and soak up information and pick up vital contacts, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. When I came here in 2003 and 2004, that's where I made a lot of my contacts that I then used to get into motorsport.
So in a tiny little way, Autosport has contributed to an Audi Le Mans win.
I guess so, yes.
Oh, that's lovely. Lovely. Well done us. Guys, you had a bit of fun last year with doing some other weird and wonderful stuff. Allan, you drove a Group B Quattro, one of those fire-breathing monsters from the 80s. Fun?
Mental, I think, is probably a better way than fun. It was definitely fun, there's no question about it. Because, you know, as a kid, I remember seeing it flying through the Scottish forests in the RAC Rally and being thrown around as if it was a small toy. But when you get into it, you realise it's not a toy. It's a car that is very docile until the turbo kicks in and that turbo lag goes, and suddenly you've got 550 horsepower. And then it's an agile beast that you've got to control. But very difficult, because when you don't drive it hard, when you don't throw it into the corner, if you try and right foot brake and conventionally drive, then the car just doesn't do anything you want it to do. It's horrible, to be honest. But then when you get it onto song and get the turbo working and the power's there, then it's really beautiful, but you've got to keep working. The good thing was, at the end of it, the right rear tyre was all the way through to the actual cord, and there was little bits of wire popping out the side. So, you know, we had given it a good day's thrashing, to say the least.
Was it a 25-year-old tyre, though?
Well, certainly it's going to be a new one now, that's for sure.
Talking of old tyres and handling nightmares, Tom, AC Cobra Daytona Coupe in pouring rain round one of the world's fastest and most dangerous tracks at Goodwood. But you held it all together and you actually won in the car.
Yeah, I mean that was it's very special to go to the revival this year. I had my dad there, and to walk around in his youth, everyone dressed up, and trying to optimize a 400 something horsepower car with leaf springs. That's not something which I never imagined I should do. But to drive in the wet in that car was pretty amazing. It was quite a highlight of the season, and I enjoyed that. And good revival is for sure there for the future. That's definitely.
And you shared the car with one of your mad old mates, Kenny Brack. You watched the onboard. The steering wheel's never straight.
It's
even
quite a
when
big,
you're going
it's
straight.
quite a big steering wheel, and the Team Lansand have done a very good job with the car. But I mean, I think it was always kind of a, what do you call it, a play in the steering at the same time. But the brakes were good, and the car was really powerful. And with this Dunlop race tires, I mean, they gave stability, but certainly no grip. So the car was constantly sliding with whatever gear you were in.
Leena, I guess from an engineering standpoint, there's not much you can do with those old things. And I'm not talking
Are you
about
talking about
Tom and Al. A couple of old bangers.
Oh, Henry, that was a funny one.
Yeah, you laughed yesterday as well. You can't. There's not much you can do with these old machines, is there?
You can take them so far, but a lot of the stuff that we do as engineers also involves strategy and that kind of thing. So, and driver manipulation, getting them to do what you want, no matter what age they are.
I suspect you're one of very few people who can tell these guys what to do and be listened to.
And does.
Usually.
Guys, I've got to let you go. You're going into the live action to check that out. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up for Leena Gade, Allan McNish and Tom Kristensen.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Good day.